Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring some really foundational verses from the Gita, chapter 8, verses 5 to 18.
That's right. We're looking at Upāsanā Yoga and what it tells us about, well, achieving joyful living.
And the focus is pretty intense. What actually happens when the physical body dies? I mean, let's really dig into that. What part of us survives?
Well, what survives isn't the physical, the gross body that's left behind. It's the non-physical parts, often called the subtle and causal bodies.
Subtle and causal bodies. Okay.
Think of the subtle body as like the mind and intellect, and the causal body as the seed for the next life. And these carry, essential baggage.
Baggage, like spiritual baggage.
Exactly. Three key things: impressions, preferences, and knowledge. We sometimes call it IPK for short.
IBK, right. So this is like our spiritual resume that determines where we start next time. Let's take impressions first. What are those exactly?
So impressions are basically the accumulated results of all our past actions, good and bad.
And the key thing is,
The key thing, and this is crucial, is that they don't cancel each other out. You have to experience the consequences of both the good and the bad.
wow, okay, so the ledger has to balance.
Precisely. And these impressions, they determine your environment in the next round.
Environment meeting.
Meaning everything, the people you meet, the places you end up, the situations, the opportunities, even the things you earn or achieve. It sets the stage.
Okay, that makes the stakes very clear. We're always dealing with echoes from the past. So if impressions set the stage, how do preferences and knowledge play out on that stage? How do they determine how we use that environment?
Good question. Preferences are strength and tastes. Your deep-seated likes and dislikes. They classify experiences for you, and importantly, they give rise to thoughts.
Like the difference between just wanting coffee and needing that specific kind of coffee from that specific place?
Exactly like that. It's a refined taste. And then knowledge comes in as the filter.
A filter? How
Yeah.
so?
Knowledge controls whether those thoughts actually turn into desires. It's the part of you that assesses, is this thing actually good for me in the long run or not?
Ah, I see. So this creates a kind of loop, doesn't it?
It does, a recursive cycle.
Mm.
Your actions create IPK. That IPK shapes your environment. The environment stimulates thoughts.
And then preferences and knowledge filter those thoughts into desires.
Right, and those desires push you back into action. And this whole cycle just keeps repeating, even across lifetimes.
Okay, so if we're kind of stuck in this loop and even getting good impressions just means a nicer environment but doesn't break the cycle, how do we get out? What's the key?
The only way out, according to these teachings, is when knowledge becomes ultimate, strong enough to actually eliminate desire altogether.
Eliminate desire. Wow.
And that's where Upāsanā Yoga comes in. It's the practice for achieving that.
Right, Upasana Yoga. So define that for us. How does this practice help get us that ultimate knowledge?
Upāsanā Yoga is essentially about refining the mind. Like exercising a muscle, you're building mental fitness through sustained practice.
What kind of practice?
It could be things like continuous repetition of a divine name, or dedicating all your actions to the divine, or maybe deep, consistent study of scriptures. It's about focused, dedicated attention.
And this connects directly back to those Gita verses you mentioned earlier, 8.5, 8.6, 8.7.
Absolutely. Those verses emphasize that the thoughts dominant at the very moment of death determine your next journey.
So you can't just suddenly decide to think about God right at the end. You can't cram for that final test.
Exactly right. Your final thoughts are really a reflection of your entire life's focus, your ingrained preferences and knowledge. If you leave the body remembering the divine, the teaching says you attain that divine nature.
But that requires preparation.
Constant preparation. That's what Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga are about, practicing that focus throughout your life.
Okay, so what does effective Upasana Yoga require from someone?
Well, three main things are usually mentioned. Genuine interest, first of all. You have to actually want it. Second, the required understanding of what you're doing and why.
And third?
And third, adopting a conducive lifestyle. Living life according to Dharma, or what you might call God's rules or natural law.
Dharma. So living righteously.
Yes, living a principled life provides the right internal and external conditions, that stability needed for the intense focus Upasana Yoga demands.
So let's tie this all together for the listener. The path to joyful living starts with Dharma, living rightly.
Which creates a good environment, good opportunities.
Opportunities to practice Upasana Yoga effectively. And that practice refines your preferences towards the divine.
Increasing your spiritual knowledge.
which ultimately leads to that ultimate knowledge, liberation, and what we're calling joyful living.
It's a very deliberate, step-by-step process of refining yourself.
So here's something to think about. If these sources are right, and our preferences and knowledge literally travel with us, shaping how we engage with whatever environment we find ourselves in next, what single preference, maybe spiritual, maybe something else, should you start working on refining today if you want to deliberately shape your future? That's a powerful thought to carry with you.